Several major stories developing as we come on the air. First, one person dead after a catastrophic crash in Del Norte County.
Immense damage.
New tonight, we now know who the man is that lost his life. And that deadly McKinleyville hit and run.
I'm looking at the body.
Breaking tonight, the suspect turns himself in. We'll tell you who it is. Also, our North Coast Senator in Eureka. News since 6, how he and local leaders are helping humbled kids. Plus, brand new tonight, it's 5 years in the making.
There are so many that said this day would never come.
Why state lawmakers are in Eureka celebrating the milestone. North Coast News at 11 on ABC 23 starts now.
Live from our studio in downtown Eureka, you're watching North Coast News on KAEF ABC 23. At 11, severe weather first.
We begin tonight with breaking news. We are learning within the last few hours that the suspect in last night's deadly hit-and-run crash on Highway 101 turned himself in tonight. Good evening. I'm Nazi Javid. Let's get right over to ABC 23's Dylan Brown following the late-breaking details for us. Dylan, what do we know about this man who investigators say turned himself in?
Well, Nazi, officers say 34-year-old Benjamin Shermis showed up at the Humboldt CHP office in Arcata with his attorney at about 6:30 tonight. The CHP telling North Coast News that Shermis admitted to being the driver in last night's hit and run on Highway 101 northbound near State Route 200. That's where officers say 34-year-old Richard Brandon Freeman from Hoopa was killed. At this hour, officers say Shermis has been arrested for a felony hit and run and is in Humboldt County Jail. His vehicle, a white 2001 Ford van, impounded for investigation. And Nazi, right now, officers are still looking for any and all witnesses who may have seen this crash or the victim leading up to it. And we checked, there's no word on why the suspect didn't stop last night. And these are the details we are looking into. Reporting live in the studio, I'm Dylan Brown, North Coast News. Back to you, Nazi.
Thank you, Dylan. Brand new tonight at 11, we're learning who was killed in that fiery big rig crash in Del Norte County today. It happened on the Klamath River Bridge. This is what it looked like just after the crash happened. Officers tell us the man killed in the crash was 37-year-old Gerald Dowd. He was reportedly from Klamath. The major head-on collision happening on Highway 101 just south of Klamath around 10:30 this morning, shutting down both directions of Highway 101 on the Klamath River Bridge for several hours. North Coast News reporter Alex Hassenstaub first broke the story on Facebook Live today. The crash involved both a Nissan vehicle and an emptied-out semi-truck. Miraculously, the CHP says the driver of the big rig wasn't hurt and remained on scene, but officials say the driver of the Nissan was airlifted to the hospital and later died.
Take a look at this damage. The semi-truck traveling northbound on Highway 101 when the CHP says a gray Nissan traveling south crossed the double yellow lines, hitting the semi-truck head on. That big rig then bursting into flames around 50 feet north of the initial impact. Soot everywhere. Crews with CAL FIRE and Crescent City putting out those flames, and that truck still smoking when we arrived on scene nearly 4 hours after the initial call. Officials say the driver of the semi not injured despite the severe damage to the big rig itself. CHP saying the driver of the Nissan was a man in his late 30s. He was airlifted to St. Joseph Hospital but did not survive. Investigators still looking into what caused that Nissan to cross into the other lane. Highway 101 was closed in both directions for around 5 hours. Crews working hard to clear the road of debris and soak up all the oil that was spilled on the road to make sure the bridge was safe to drive on. One-lane traffic was opened just after 3 this Friday afternoon.
Thank you, Alex. At this hour, no word on any environmental impact, but these are questions we're asking. We will bring you that info when it becomes available to us. Now let's talk about that weather, shall we? Just check out these wet and slippery streets I'm about to show you. Lots of rain coming down earlier in Eureka tonight, but now you see it there, things letting up. Still lots of puddles out there right now, though, so drive safely out there. Let's get right over to our live weather radar and take a look at the activity going on there. You can see it's all lit up. These showers, they picked up late today with some isolated thunderstorms. It was on and off all day today, right? But you see that yellow and the green moving in through Fortuna, Eureka, Arcata, Soham. I mean, this rain is all over the screen moving its way in. Now, As an offshore upper level low tracks toward northwest California, we're going to be seeing that rainfall off and on. We saw some lightning, even some hail today, some brief heavy downpours, but you see there the rain moving in to the coast. From the west there tonight. Later tonight, even a better chance of rain near Cape Mendocino, Redwood Coast, along the coast. So a lot of inconsistent wet activity out there tonight. Keep an eye out. Be safe. Grab your weather coat if you're headed out the door. Now we've got some more breaking news for you this Friday night. New and into our newsroom since 6. One of our North Coast finest just drafted to the NFL. We are so excited about this. Here live in the studio to tell us about it is North Coast News reporter Andy Krause. Andy, who was drafted? Where's he going?
Nazi, former Humboldt State University student and offensive lineman Alex Kappa will be getting used to the beaches and the sun. He is heading to Tampa Bay to play for the Bucks. Humboldt State tells us that he was chosen in the 3rd round of the NFL draft, the Buccaneers taking Kappa with the 94th overall pick. The Dublin, California native was a record 4-time Great Northwest Athletic Conference Offensive Lineman of the Year and 3-time All-American. Kappa was recognized as one of the top linemen in NCAA Division II. This makes Kappa the 9th Humboldt State football player selected in the NFL Draft Common Era, which began in 1967. Plus, he is the first lumberjack picked since Freeman Basinger was chosen by the New England Patriots in the 12th round of the 1992 draft. Congrats to you, Alex. Reporting live in the studio, I'm Andy Krause, North Coast News.
Very good. We are so excited. We were just rooting for him when I was off screen. We will be watching. We will watch Alex protect Bucks quarterback Jameis Winston as he starts his pro career down in Tampa. Thank you, Andy, for that report. New details tonight at 11, happening just over an hour ago. North Coast Senator Mike McGuire and First Five coming back together for a town hall update on adverse childhood experiences in Humboldt. The community showing up, asking questions, and getting answers for our community kids. Senator Mike McGuire says they've made some pretty big progress to support the county's children.
We started this process 18 months ago when the report came out that said the county of Humboldt, along with the county of Mendocino, had the 2nd highest ACEs level in the state of California.
The senator saying they've accomplished a lot in the 18 months since McGuire, First Five Humboldt, and local leaders gathered for a town hall.
We had to be able to bring the community together to be able to focus on lifting up our kids and making families stronger.
The issue at hand, the impacts that adverse childhood experiences have on our local kids.
We had more kids who have experienced some type of abuse or trauma in the home, more than 56 other counties in the state of California.
The senator back in Humboldt Friday night for a forum discussing community response.
And what I am so grateful for, over the last 18 months, there's been considerable positive change that's been created.
Senator McGuire says they've launched positive changes in the lives of some of Humboldt's most vulnerable kids. People shuffling in, excited to hear what work was done on the forefront of the local issue.
ACE's unique strategies in communities throughout this county that have been implemented and that are taking action right now.
Major steps in the movement to advance Humboldt County child welfare. Good work our state and local leaders are doing for Humboldt County. Great job. Now let's talk about the Great Fire, which is the prescribed burn turned wildfire near High and Palm. As of today, that fire crews tell us it's burned 150 acres, nearly 170 firefighters battling the flames tonight. Officials say the forests are drying out sooner than expected, leading to increased fire behavior this time of year. Fire crews say they're attacking the flames by air, but the weather, as you saw today, was rather cool. So those cool temperatures and that rain at this hour have helped that fire, and crews battling it. They have it 10% contained, and there are no evacuation orders or structures destroyed.
Is that Joseph James D'Angelo your true and correct legal name? I'm sorry?
New tonight at 11, the suspected Golden State Killer making his first court appearance today. Joseph James D'Angelo arraigned on capital murder charges in Sacramento. Marcy Gonzalez is in Los Angeles with more on today's hearing and what we're now learning about how the suspect was caught more than 40 years after the killing spree began.
Brought into court in a wheelchair, Joseph D'Angelo facing 2 murder charges and the likelihood of more. Accused of a dozen murders, some 50 rapes, and more than 100 burglaries in California in the 1970s and 80s.
Are you sure you have the right man? 100%.
The newly retired lead investigator on the case explaining how his team finally cracked the cold case using a free public DNA and genealogy website called GEDmatch, saying they used crime scene DNA to track the so-called Golden State Killer's lineage and trace his relatives, then cross-reference that with people who moved to California at the time of the crimes.
If the person has enough of the boxes checked, that's when you go and decide, I'm going to get a direct DNA sample.
He says investigators then staked D'Angelo out, collecting his DNA from a piece of garbage, and got a match, arresting the unsuspecting 72-year-old at his Sacramento home Tuesday.
He outsmarted everybody for 40 years.
His family stunned by the accusations against the former police officer and Vietnam veteran.
It's just kind of such a shock. You don't know how to react. All these emotions are just too much.
And today's court hearing only lasted a few minutes. D'Angelo did not enter a plea. He's now scheduled to be back in court May 14th. Police still looking for clues that may connect D'Angelo to his other suspected murders. Back in Humboldt, we're learning who Arcata City officials' top candidate is for interim police chief as the search for a full-time one continues. Arcata City Manager Karen Deemer saying that they've completed the interviews for interim chief. She tells us their top candidate is from California, but not from within Arcata Police Department. That's why they've begun full background checks. Those can take up to a month to finish. Now, former police chief Tom Chapman resigned on April 10th, right after former FBI agent Tom Parker, who was assisting in the David Josiah Lawson homicide case, resigned because he was frustrated with how he said Chapman was handling the investigation. He called Chapman, quote, incompetent. Now, Lieutenant Bart Silvers, who's worked for APD for 16 years, is serving as acting police chief until an interim chief is named. The city manager tells us they hope to have the new interim chief here by June. The Stanley Cup coming for Humboldt this weekend. Coming up on North Coast News, we're sitting down with a man who started it all. He explains how the event grew from just a few to hundreds.
So they've never done anything like this.
Two Eureka High School students going after their dreams. They're coming out of their comfort zone. Straight ahead, we're telling you just how they're using their artist abilities to compete in a countywide challenge. Plus, wow. Breathe that in for a second, right? Isn't that gorgeous? Showers and thunderstorms on the North Coast horizon. We'll be right back with your weather forecast right around the corner for Slurp meteorologist Rob Eldington, bringing us those details coming up next. Time's 11:12. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this quick break.